Today I'm going to do a video about tenderizing beef, and I'm not going to use your standard store tenderizers. I'm going to use one of these guys. That's right, I'm going to use a pineapple. You're going to be shocked at how we use a pineapple and some other methods to really tenderize beef. A lot of your store-bought tenderizers, they just provide a lot of flavor, although they claim they tenderize. Stay with me, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. It's super awesome you decided to spend a few minutes with me. I'm Mike, you're at Delmarva Backyard. If you haven't been here before, please hit the subscribe button down below. If you like videos to do with barbecue and beer, this is the spot for you. Also, if you're ever interested in any of the products that I review or that I'm using in the videos, click the show more button down below. There's a lot of information down there for you. We're gonna take some natural products and we're gonna use the things that are in them naturally to really tenderize some beef. If you want to learn how to take some natural style fruits to make your cheaper style steaks incredibly tender, stay with me. There's nothing like a good steak. A nice, tender, juicy steak. Oh man. You don't really need to tenderize beef when it's a high grade, like, you know, some of your Angus or your prime grade or your Wagyu. It's just so tender, it's not necessary. On your lower grades, it's probably a good idea to tenderize it. There's multiple ways that you can tenderize it, and I'm going to go over 5. I'm gonna use 5 methods to tenderize beef, and I'm gonna do it for 2 hours. I may do another video, and you guys, if you have any input, leave it in the comments below on some other methods for tenderizing. But I'm trying to stick to natural tenderizers, but I wouldn't rule out using some of those commercial ones either. So let's talk about what we're using in this video. You saw the first one, pineapple. Pineapple has an enzyme in it called bromelain, and it's used in the medical fields for some anti-inflammatory things. But what it does is it basically breaks down proteins, and that's what we have when we're talking about steaks or beef is collagen, and collagen is basically muscle fibers. So this enzyme is going to break down those muscle fibers. So we want to take the pineapple, core it out, and get basically just as much of the pineapple without sticking the outer shell into it, turn it into a paste through a food processor, and just wipe it all over the steak. Kiwi, same deal with kiwi. All right, so we're gonna take the kiwi, we're gonna scoop the kiwi out, put it in a food processor, rub it all over the steak, let it marinate for 2 hours, both of them. Kosher salt, we're gonna cover the steak with kosher salt. It's gonna help break down those muscle fibers. Let it marinate for 2 hours. Good old-fashioned meat mallet, we're gonna tenderize that way, and they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and kind of chewing the meat up and breaking down those muscle fibers. And that's really what we're looking at when we're talking about tenderizing meat, is we're kind of breaking that collagen down. When they can a pineapple, or they process it, they basically destroy the enzyme bromelain. Any kind of processed pineapple or pineapple juice is not gonna work. You have to use natural, raw pineapple. I have this handy pineapple core we're gonna use. I'm not worried about how centered it is. You know, like I said, the outer shell and the juice is where a lot of the enzyme comes from. You want a pineapple that is, you know, pretty ripe. You can see the juice coming out of there. Go right on into the bottom there. You want to make sure you get it all. And then we'll go ahead and pull out. Nothing like some fresh pineapple. And now I'm just basically going to cut it into smaller chunks. It doesn't take a whole lot of the fruit to tenderize. If there's any juice left over in the pineapple, make sure you pour that in there. See that? All right, so now I'm gonna take probably, I don't know, a little more than, about a third of it or so. And let's go ahead and dump our pineapple in here. You can see the consistency it has. It's nice and light, fluffy, foamy. All right, for our kiwis, I'm gonna slice them in half. And take a spoon and just kind of work down around the skin. Make sure to keep all the juice in the bowl. And you want nice ripe kiwis. And there you go. One kiwi is probably enough. I'm gonna mix up two just in case we have some waste from the mixing. And there's our nice kiwi slurry. And that's gonna be perfect for some steaks. All right, so we have 5 filet mignons. They're Angus choice grade, and they're fairly close to the same size. They're $19.99 a pound, a total of 3.26 pounds. And we're gonna tenderize this one with the old meat mallet. And the principle with the meat mallet is to kind of chew up the collagen or the muscle fibers with the teeth and the pressure of the hit. So let's see how this works out. You can definitely see how the meat was giving way to the pressure. Some of the harder areas, like right here where this fat and this connective tissue is, hit it a little bit harder. And that's it. We're just going to let this one refrigerate. I don't need to vacuum seal it or anything. What we're gonna do is absolutely nothing. And this is more of a control steak. Be hard to tell, you know, how tender the meat is if you don't have a steak to compare it to. Steak number 3 is gonna be salt. Now, I don't usually put oils on my steaks unless they look really dry. So I'm not gonna do that here. I'm just gonna salt it. All sides, kind of press it in. And then we're gonna vacuum seal it. You want quite a bit of salt here. You're gonna rinse the salt off. So it's really just, you know, acting as a tenderizer. You will have some salt content left over, but primarily acting as a tenderizer. And with your vacuum seal bags, you want to fold the lip down. Where we seal it up here will still be free of any debris, salt, spices, meat juice, or whatever. We're going to slide. These bags are a little bigger than they need to be, but that's what I have. I'm going to slide the steak in without knocking any of the salt off, well, any more than necessary. Steak number 3 is going to be the kiwi steak. We have a special bag for this because it's going to be somewhat liquid. It's called a dam bag, and it has this little dry strip here. So that way when we seal it, the liquids don't jam the machine up. So we're going to put our beef in the bag, dump it in the bag, and then we're just going to kind of move the steak around, make sure we get it on all sides. That'll work out just fine. Here's our pineapple going here. All surfaces of the steak. I'm using the Food Saver. If you're interested in any of the products that I use, links in the show more below the video. Pretty simple to use. Now on the dam bags, you want to push down here on the pad, and then you'll stick it in. Nice and straight. You can see up here how the juice is being prevented from going up into the sealer. I'd say that's pretty good. That one's good too. Keep that salt and that liquid all sealed right up nice and tight. I'm gonna put them in the refrigerator for an hour and a half. And then I'm gonna put them out on the counter for a half an hour while the grill comes up to temperature and while the steaks come up to room temperature. I'm gonna cook on the Weber Summit 670, and the reason I'm doing that, I know it's a gas grill, but the reason I'm doing that is so that I have a very controlled cook. I wanna make sure that we get to pick the best tenderizer by having a nice, fair cook. All right, our time is up. We're gonna go ahead and cut the bags open. So this is our steak with the salt. And the thing I want you to notice about this is the color difference. This is a big, big, big difference. Look at this. Look how the meat's pulling apart right like that. Look at this. There's our pineapple. You can see how it's just pulling apart there. All right, so here's our setup, guys. I have a toothpick in each steak, and you see I have a little piece of paper here, and each toothpick has a mark on it. I got a regular steak, nothing on it, salt, our kiwi, our pineapple, and our mallet steak. And each toothpick has the coordinating amount of marks on it. So here's our regular steak with 1 mark, there's our mallet steak with 5 marks, and so on. And I just want you to look at the difference in these steaks. Our salt steak, our pineapple steak, and our kiwi steak. That's our regular steak. Our mallet steak, which looks all deformed. Put our regular steak on first. Our mallet steak. Our salt steak. Pineapple steak. And kiwi steak in the back.
Steaks are beautiful when they have those wonderful grill marks. We're gonna cook for 2 minutes. We're gonna turn 90 degrees. We're gonna cook for 2 more minutes. Then we'll flip them. Then we'll cook for 2 minutes, turn 90 degrees, cook for 2 minutes, and then we'll pull them.
All right, so we're done. The way we're gonna make sure we don't lose track of them is we're gonna put them on the cutting board the same way that they're on the grill. And then I can go back on camera and make sure we got the right ones. Just like that. A regular steak, our mallet steak, our salt steak, our pineapple steak, and our kiwi steak. I went ahead and sliced the one with nothing done to it. That's our control steak, and you can see it's just a beautiful, beautiful medium rare, and it is just as tender as you can imagine. Now I also went ahead and sliced the mallet steak, and it's right here. Now you can see a considerable difference here, and I think it's because where we reduced the thickness of the steak so much that it cooked to a higher temperature, and therefore, you know, it's gonna have a different tenderness from that. We would have had to pull this steak much sooner for it to be even close to this kind of tenderness. Now I haven't tasted them, but I'm just cutting them. This steak with the salt, for some reason, just doesn't look as appealing as the other steaks. It has kind of a off color. But it is tender. The knife just sank right through it. Oh wow, that's tender. Very, very tender, guys. That is every bit as tender as the control steak, if not more. Pineapple. On the grill, these were basically like falling apart. And they still are. Yeah, they're like almost mush. It's unreal. Now here's our kiwi steak. Look how it's just, I mean, it's, you see that? It's like falling apart. Yeah, I mean, that's unreal. I intentionally didn't put any seasoning on the steaks. I wanted to make sure that any of the tenderizers that I used didn't leave any additional flavors or leftover after flavors or anything like that. So we're gonna find that out when we taste, and I have my son, who absolutely loves steak just like I do, here to help me decide. Now he doesn't know what I did, so he's just gonna tell me which one he thinks is the best, and I'm gonna give you my honest opinion too. So let's find out. We're gonna try over here on this right side. So just pick up a piece, just go ahead and try it. Kind of remember it. Flavor. We want to see which one is the softest. Does that make sense? Less chewy. All right, here's number 2. All right, so between 1 and 2, which one do you think is more tender, softer?
By far number 1.
Yeah, I agree. Number 2 is the meat mallet. And now the only thing I think I'll try in a future video is where you have the needles, because I think that might be different, where you're not mangling the meat. The needles don't smash the meat. The mallet smashes the meat, and I think that may be where we went wrong on that. So, number 1 is in the lead. Let's try number 3. All right, now remember, we're going off tenderness. So which one of these 3 is the softest, less chewy?
This one.
Number 1. Okay, so number 3 is our salt. Now what I'll tell you about number 3 is a lot of salt is still in the meat. You can taste the salt. The flavor is much different. However,
It's good.
in my opinion, it's more tender than the meat mallet, but it's not as tender as the natural beef. There you go. What do you think about number 4?
It's hard to tell whether it's closer to number 1 or number 2, but I'd say chances are it's closer to number 1 because it's way more tender than chewy.
Okay, so it's very, very tender. I think it's more tender than number 1 by a long shot, and you can feel the muscle fibers in your mouth just kind of. It's almost like a roast beef that's been in a crock pot all day long. It's incredibly tender. It's kind of hard to describe. And that is our pineapple steak. And what I'll tell you is that there's absolutely no flavor of pineapple at all. So now we're gonna try the last one.
Thank you.
Now, before you say anything, let's circle back around to number 1. Okay, what do you think?
I would change on thoughts for this. I think it's more tender than this by quite a bit. And then I don't think this is more tender than that, but it's definitely more tender than that.
And I think he's right. The pineapple, I think, is the most tender. The natural is 3rd place. Salt is 4th, and then the mallet is last. And there's no taste of kiwi on the kiwi steak, no taste of pineapple. However, salt, you can taste the salt big time. Now, there's a big disclaimer here. The texture when you're chewing it, and I'm talking about both the pineapple and the kiwi, is different than the natural, the salt, and the mallet. And what I mean is, it's like I said, it's more of a roast beef style that's been in the crock pot or something like that all day. It's falling apart kind of texture, whereas these other 3 are more of a steak kind of texture where it's held together. It's a little bit hard to describe, but the enzyme that is inside of pineapple and kiwi, it just really pulls that meat apart. And you could see that when I was marinating it, when I took it out of the bag. That's what happened, and that's what you feel in your mouth. They're all really good, and I think we'll do some further experimenting in the future because you can see how the different tenderizers affect the meat. The one that I absolutely rule out completely, and I'll probably throw the thing away, is that mallet. I think that's just junk. And maybe, I'll look into if I was using it wrong or whatever. If you guys have any suggestions on that, leave them in the comments below. But this is the great thing. Absolutely best thing about this whole video. We have a lot of steak to eat. I really appreciate you sticking around to watch the whole video. Check out these other videos over here. You may very well be interested in those also. The inspiration behind the videos is your feedback. And the best way to give me your feedback is to hit the like button down below. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button down below. And you can also leave comments. I can't wait to see you next time.